This is another edition of the Alliance Guys podcast. I'm your host, J. Cal. Joining me is the one and only solar-powered sex machine, Jaden. Welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
It's our solar-powered love machine. I have to trademark that, you know.
Well, that's why I said sex machines, because I didn't want to have to pay a nickel to use it.
A nickel? What do you think, man? A nickel? That's a shiny nickel. That nowadays.
Yeah. So, hey, it has been one hell of a day for me. I've heard that you're a little bit on the cranky side. How are you doing this evening? Did you get your nice mocha latte, or how are you staying awake? It's 11 o'clock your time.
I have no idea. Honestly, I've been up since like 5, and I worked all day, and now I'm here doing a podcast, and I even got to yell at a cloud, so I'm pretty cranky.
Yell at a clown? Was it Doink or Joker?
Not a clown, a cloud.
Oh. Angry man yells at a cloud, news at 11.
Yeah, the only clown right here is the one on the other side of this podcast right now.
Well, Jaden, that's not very nice. DK isn't even on tonight.
Yeah. He's too old to be on this. He's already in bed. He's been in bed by 9 o'clock.
Some malto meal and a nice ASMR video, and I'm sure he's doing great.
He's probably still having his VCR.
Maybe.
So let's get on with this podcast.
I think we should. I really think we should. Now, this is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information regarding the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. Jaden, NWA POWERRR episode number 2 aired just a few days ago. And what are you getting from the show? Tell me about the vibe. What do you think about the show?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. I don't think it was as good as this week as it was the week before. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot more star power this time, but I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much. But I still very much do like the program. I love the look, and I love a lot of the good stuff about it. So let's talk about what we like and what we don't like.
Well, for me, first and foremost, I love the star power. And I'm not a pole jumper here, but to me, it was really cool to see some names added to the mix. Like, look, we're not bringing in the big-time names who dominated the WWE or WCW or ECW or even Impact, but we are bringing in names that have some value to them. And somebody like Ken Anderson, I could really get behind a guy like Ken Anderson. I don't think he ever realized his full potential in the WWE. He did have a run with the Impact Championship in TNA, but I think the way that they used him on Tuesday night was kind of interesting. What were your thoughts on Mr. Anderson?
Well, first of all, I think NWA always needs to have an Anderson involved. Right. So I think that's a good thing to pay attention to. I've always liked Ken Anderson. He's been a talent in the ring. He can do it, talk on the mic. He can do what he needs to do. I think he was kind of lost with Colt Cabana. Now, I don't dislike Colt Cabana like other people as much as, or whatever, but Colt's style, it's a little more theatrical in my opinion.
Sure.
So I don't know That's necessarily fair. That he would be such a great tag team partner, especially because I know Colt Cabana. I've watched him do some actual British style wrestling. So kind of, in some ways I agree with Jim Cornette, who did kind of bring him to task on this many times, that he doesn't need to do a lot of the histrionics, but he's still a very good wrestler, and Mr. Anderson was very entertaining, and it was a nice way to kind of give each other kind of a rub in a way to introduce Mr. Anderson to an NWA crowd with a former 2-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion and a national champion of sorts. So I think that kind of, gave some NWA street cred to Mr. Anderson, and Mr. Anderson kind of gave a rub with some of the big-time wrestling credentials he has.
And if you wouldn't mind, I'd also like to go back into the annals of history of time, because we know before Mr. Anderson made his debut at NWA POWERRR, before he made his debut on the Impact Zone, before he was Mr. Kennedy, he was Ken Anderson, wrestler based out of the Midwest, former NWA Midwest heavyweight champion. So for me, it's kind of like it's all connected. You know, this is how like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. used to say they were all connected. I really feel like the NWA is desperately trying to connect to certain individuals to the past that they had. Now, I'm pretty sure Joe Galley and James E. Cornette don't know that Ken Anderson was a former NWA Midwest champion, but me, the viewer, me, the longtime NWA fan, I knew it. And when he showed up, I popped just because I knew for the fact that he did hold that Midwest championship. And I said, well, geez Louise, like, I don't know if that was intended by David Lagan or Billy Corgan. Honestly, they probably don't know that he was a former NWA Midwest champion. Completely honest. But to me, it felt right. And I've already got a name for the tag team, so I hope they stick around. But how about the Misters Cab Andersons? Cab Andersons.
Yeah. No? Let's go on to the next thing.
Well, let's talk real quick. They did have their debut against local favorite Sal Renaro and Jordan Kingsley. Now, you were telling us a little bit about Sal Renaro last week. Again, he's kind of in a limited role right now. We don't know what the future holds for Mr. Renaro, but what do you think? What do you think of seeing somebody with the I don't want to say legacy, but the legitimacy and then the history that he's had with the NWA working for the National Wrestling Alliance, the Power Show?
There was NWA Wildside, and there was NWA Anarchy, and he's also worked for Ring of Honor, so he's got some pedigree in professional wrestling. He's a very talented guy. I don't necessarily agree with him being on the undercard, but he's, you know what, comparatively some of the big guys, the big hosses that are in the NWA right now, he is kind of small, so not everybody can look like a 12-year-old boy and be like Marco Stunt, but he definitely, you know, he's small compared to some of the big beef like Tim Storm and Mr. Anderson, but he's definitely a talented wrestler. Maybe we'll see him get a little bit more someday.
Yeah, and I think the thing, again, I kind of said this last week, and, you know, this is just based on the 2 weeks that I was there. You do see a progression. You see some of the talent kind of rise up. I'm not going to say that you're going to see Sal Renaro in a main event anytime soon, but I think with the opportunity to, you know, wrestle more in front of the camera, you know, the crowd will determine who, you know, the crowd will determine who they're excited about. And then obviously the NWA is going to book accordingly. So if people Renaro in more than just an opening match, but the likelihood of that happening right now, I don't think that's very high. So that's one of those things that we'll have to wait and see. But of course, we're jumping around a little bit, guys. We're not going point by point by point, but I did want to make the note that Sal Renaro, Jordan Kingsley took the loss to Kennedy and Colt Cabana. So another debut, and this is kind of what kicked off the show, was, you know, a lot of folks in the WWE fans know him as Damian Sandow. Impact fans knew him as Aaron Rex. We know him now as Aaron Stevens, Hollywood's own Aaron Stevens. He's been out of the ring for a few years, making, quote unquote, and I'm using quotation marks, movies. He had his promo interview, debut. I don't know what you want to call it, but he met with David Marquez and was that typical Hollywood star, like, don't look me in the eyes, make sure there's green M&Ms in the green room and all that bullshit. Jaden, what did you think of Aaron Stevens' return to pro wrestling?
I kind of liked it. I do like Aaron Stevens. I liked him as Damian Sandow. He was a long-time developmental guy. I believe he came out of the Killer Kowalski school, if I'm not mistaken. And
correct, you're right.
Yeah, and I enjoy watching him. He's a talented guy. I could have done a little less of the comedy. I know the fans seem to like it, but maybe if he was a little more serious and a little less Mizdow-ish, you know, I think I'd be take him a little serious. But he can go in the ring, and he has the ability to make an impact in and the NWA.
No pun intended, right?
No, pun was 100% intended.
Well, I regretfully have to be the one to tell you this, but the comedy shtick, the whole shtick of Aaron Stevens doesn't it doesn't go away, guys. This is what he is for the NWA. Now things can change, sure, but he's more of a punchline at this point for the promotion, and that's okay. Everyone, every trumpeter has a role in the band, so we'll see what happens down the road. But I think it was a great introduction. Established right away his heel character. The fans initially wanted to cheer him because, he was on WWE programming, he was on Impact programming. I remember this guy being super over with the WWE, and the WWE never were able to figure it out. So, let's see what Billy and Lagana and the booking committee for the National Wrestling Alliance have in store for Aaron Stevens. But it was just okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I understood what they were trying to do. It was just it was a decent segment. I'll switch gears here. One of the more competitive matches. Got to see one of my favorite guys. Actually, two guys that I really like, and I don't know how you feel about Stroke Daddy. Can I call him that? I don't know what to call him. Ricky Starks, who took on our own redneck. His name is escaping me. Trevor Murdoch. I have written down Murdoch, and I couldn't think of Trevor. Jaden, what did you think of the debut of Ricky Starks in the ring taking on Trevor Murdoch? Trevor Murdoch, Ricky Starks. I'm a fan of both these guys. What did you see? What did you like? What did you dislike in this match?
I was extremely excited to find that Trevor Murdoch was involved. He's a talented. I've always liked him. I hope to see him maybe a little bit more in the Northeast, but he is kind of what wrestling is. I wasn't so impressed when he was part of the Dumps back in the day. When he really developed and became a member of the Murdoch family, if you will. He originally was a part of the Rhodes family, but now he's part of the Murdoch family. But I just do. He's a throwback to Harley Race. He's an old school professional wrestler. He's not the body that you would expect from a professional wrestler, especially if you watch WWE and everybody kind of looks the same. But
right,
he can go in the ring. He has it. He has something special. I've always liked him. Ricky Starks came out pretty impressive too. A little smaller than I originally thought, but he reminds me, if you go back to some old school NWA, he reminds me of Sebastian Cruz with a little more size to him.
Oh yeah, that's a great comparison.
That's what he kind of reminds me of.
Sebastian Cruz, for you guys who don't know who he is, he wrestled a lot for Jaden, a promotion you're very familiar with, Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Back then they were a part of the NWA. Also wrestled for NWA on Fire. So that was New Jersey and the New England area, Massachusetts, Maine. And so, yeah, you're right. He did have a very much a feel to Sebastian Cruz. Yeah, I see that exactly.
Yeah, a little bit of, if Sebastian Cruz and The Rock had a love child, that'll be basically the Starks.
There you go. And so, all right, Nick Aldis declared on the during the whole weekend, and I don't remember if it was during the press conference or at the show, but he called Ricky Starks his number one draft pick. We just had the Monday night Raw SmackDown Live draft, which seemed like a total cluster F, but the NWA doesn't have a draft. But if they did, Nick Aldis said that Ricky Starks, the first guy that he would pick, to be on his team. And I think that speaks volumes about what they expect from Ricky Starks. Yeah. I think the match was pretty good in and of itself. Like, I was kind of surprised that Murdoch was there to kind of this was a lot like Caleb Conley versus Eli Drake, but almost in reverse, where you knew Eli Drake was going to win when he took on Caleb Conley, but Conley got a lot of offense in. In this match, I kind of thought Trevor Murdoch was going to get the W here, but he lost. But it was competitive. And that's kind of like the formula that, from week 1 to week 2, that's something that they had in common. There was a competitive match, a big guy versus a smaller guy. This time the smaller guy won. And, Murdoch didn't look bad in his loss. I mean, keep in mind, the guy's been wrestling for quite some time. He's not fresh off, fresh out of the WWE. I don't think he's been in a ring for about 5 years. I don't know how accurate that is, but I don't remember him wrestling anywhere in the past 5 years. Jaden, are you familiar with him wrestling anywhere?
I think about 2 years ago, he actually kind of put his boots out for a little bit, and hasn't really been doing a lot. But I heard David Marquez gave him a call and wanted him to be part of this. And then Lagana also agreed, I heard, and I'm glad he is. He's a guy who deserves a spot. His tag team with Lance Cade was underrated, and he's a good talent to have part of the roster. A veteran that can still go.
I don't know, Jane. Do you remember when we talked to Lance Cade?
Yeah, back
about a decade ago.
Has it really been that long? Yeah.
I mean, not really a decade ago, probably about 8 years ago, though. It was honestly one of the bigger guests we ever got on the show. And,
he had nothing but great things to say about Trevor Murdoch then. And, at the time, even before Lance Cade went back to the WWE and then back to the NWA, he was wrestling with Dave Marquez in the original Championship Wrestling from Hollywood TV tapings. I really felt like they were building up Cade and Murdoch to take on the Skull Crushers, who were the tag team champions at the time. So for me, again, the NWA fan, the historian, if you will, seeing Murdoch back in an NWA ring, awesome. And he seems really excited about it too. I mean, social media is what social media is, but he looked really jazzed to be there. He looked really jazzed to be in Atlanta, to be in front of those fans, and I can't wait to see what's next for him. And I kind of know, but we're not going to spoil it here, but the guy's something special, and I'm glad that he has a forum, and hopefully the NWA takes advantage of it to the max.
We had Allysin Kaye taking on Ashley Vox. Now, I'm not super familiar with Ashley Vox. She I know is more known for the tag team that she has with her sister, but I don't even know them. I don't really follow women's wrestling that closely, but I know that she's supposed to be a pretty big deal with her sister. And it seems like Allysin Kaye has some kind of stroke herself in the NWA, because she kind of hand selected some female talent to join the roster. Ashley Vox was one of them. Marty Bell was the other. And then, of course, we heard Thunder Rosa also joined the roster. The match itself, I don't know. I wasn't impressed. I've seen Allysin Kaye do better. Of course, she won the title. She won the NWA Women's Championship by defeating Santana Garrett, a former women's champion. And it was a pretty good match at the Crockett Cup. This match certainly wasn't anything to write home about, and that's probably why it wasn't a title match. Jaden, what did you think about it?
It was more of a showcase, honestly, for Allysin Kaye. She's more made for television. She's got more TV experience, and I don't think Vox does. And I do believe that kind of showed. Honestly, if they're going to bring in women's matches that aren't just, they're supposed to be competitive or semi-competitive, bring in some women wrestlers to actually have competitive and semi-competitive matches. Bring in your, like Thunder Rosa definitely is looking into it. There's also a woman, La Rosa Negra, Sumi Sakai, if she's not under contract with Ring of Honor, which I believe she is now, in second guess. But there's a lot of talented women wrestlers out there. Kimberly, I don't believe she's under any contract right now. She could be pretty good. Lufisto would be nice. Casey Carlisle would be great to see again. There's definitely some talented women wrestlers out there that if they want to show what Kaye can do. See, normally there's an old belief that you don't really put a lot of championship matches on television. Now, of course, I think they've had like 3 of them so far. But, you don't really put your championships out there. The women always had a bit of an exception. One of the problems right now is most of the talented women wrestlers are working for the WWE in some way. Some are working for Impact Wrestling, some are working for All Elite, and then some are working for the NWA. But there isn't quite yet that plethora of TV-ready women talent out there that's got everything, to be right on television. So you're not going to always be able to hit a home run with the women wrestlers out there. And they're only going to get better as time goes on, and there's going to be more and more and more women wrestlers till one day you'll be able to do a card 50-50 and not have any loss of quality from top to bottom. Pretty soon going to be able to go 50-50 without have any loss of quality from top to bottom. It's not there yet, so you're not going to hit a home run every single time, but it's just they're only going to get better, and we're going to see better and bigger matches. And I'm more worried about, or worried just to see who she's facing at the big pay-per-view coming up, because there's some talented girls out there, women, that could really put on a great match with Allysin Kaye and elevate that championship.
Absolutely. And I don't know for sure, they haven't listed the matches yet for the pay-per-view. And I don't want to give out any spoilers. The show certainly built towards things, but it didn't really put anything in concrete. So, Into the Fire pay-per-view on December 14th on Fight TV live from Atlanta, Georgia, in the the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios. I had a flashback from 12 years ago. They haven't announced a single match yet. In fact, I don't think the Rock and Roll Express will be there that night. So it'll be interesting to see what we're actually going to get at that pay-per-view. Speaking of the Rock and Roll Express, the tag team champions were on the line on this episode, and we saw the wild card. And we spent a lot of time talking about the wild card last week, which was Thomas Latimer and Royce Isaacs. And they defended against Outlaws Inc., who we now know as Homicide, and Eddie Kingston. We said a lot of great things about Kingston and Homicide. We said a lot of great things about Isaacs and Latimer. What did you think about leading up to this match and before it had its interruption? What did you think of the big game feel for it?
I understand that they're trying to create new stars and everything like that. I think, in my opinion, the Dawsons should have had quite a few more even squash wins before they were put in any kind of picture into this. If anything, it just felt like something. It just felt like it was shoehorned in just to not give them anybody a finish. Homicide and Kingston are money. I do like Latimer and Isaacs. I'm less impressed with the Dawsons, but maybe if I see more of them, maybe I'll change my opinion.
Well, I got good news for you, because if you like Dawson, I got all the Dawsons you need up into the 9 weeks of television for NWA Power. Because let me tell you, brother, Zane Dawson and Billy Dawson, or whatever his name is, we get a lot of Dawsons, and I get it. Just like you said, they're creating their own stars. They were at the Crockett Cup, so they do get some points for that. But my goodness, man, like you, I think they used this moment to ruin a perfectly good tag team match by trying to build up another
tag team. I think this match should have waited. This match should have been what was featured at the pay-per-view. Clearly, that's not what they had in the cards. As if you've read the spoilers, the Rock and Roll Express are the tag team champions now. So, interestingly enough, you'll have to just watch every week and see what's going on in the NWA to see how that all unfolds. But it does create some interesting storylines going into next week, because Jaden, you've been in up close and personal with Eddie Kingston. You've been up close and personal with Homicide. Knowing those two gentlemen and knowing how they compete in the ring, I think they're going to have some comeuppance for...
well, these two Dog Pound alumni, and I don't mean NWA Dog Pound, I'm hitting from the Dog Pound in Brooklyn, New York, they're going to make them pay. They're gonna break some bones. They're gonna bloody some faces. They're gonna pop a cap if they have to. But no, Kingston and Homicide, they're going to make sure that they are not disrespected ever again by the Dawsons or the Wild Card or any other tag team in there. Right now, out of the I like Isis and Latimer, and the Dawsons or whatever. Right now, I don't know what to think of them yet. Out of the tag teams that they've shown, easily the Outlaws Inc. is the most accomplished and the one with the most forward potential, I think, to be able to make a bigger drop, a bigger. I keep wanting to say impact, and I just hate using that word, but they're going to do more with the NWA right now, I think, if the focus was put on that.
And I gotta believe that's why they were brought into the show, right? I mean, Kingston could have come in as a singles wrestler if that's what they wanted. I mean, you could have programmed Kingston into a feud with James Storm if that's what you wanted. They wanted Homicide and Kingston. They wanted that Outlaws Inc. Surely they have some bigger plans for them than just having their shot at the tag team titles kind of squandered. I didn't get a chance to look at the weekly views for YouTube for NWA Power, but I know that they're overnight, like the first couple hours, they had like over 12,000 people watching the show. And I heard somebody on Twitter, and I'm sorry, person on Twitter, I don't remember your handle, but they said to Dave Lagana, and it made great sense, like this way of watching wrestling is so different in that it's, in the last 20 years, the way we've consumed wrestling is by watching it on TV on somebody else's schedule. Now, we could TiVo it, there's all kinds of things we could do, but this is the first time that we're actually able to watch wrestling on our own schedule. I mean, we can literally go to YouTube and 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific, we could watch wrestling. But you could watch wrestling all week. You could wait till Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday to watch this show. And you'll see, if you go look at the YouTube numbers right now, those numbers are continually to grow. Jaden, what do you think about this, the advantageous use of YouTube for the NWA?
It's actually smart. So streaming media right now is a much bigger growing industry than, say, straight up flat television nowadays. While there's still the prestige of television and TV, things like Netflix and the soon-to-be Disney Plus and the CBS network and Hulu and I'm sure I'm missing about 3 dozen of them. The Disney network, the DC network. It's showing nowadays that that TV is more a la carte, and you can watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. You can stream and watch 20 things in a row. You can watch every once in a while, and that's the way things are becoming. And the benefit, I think, with that, and the fact that when they go Fight TV, also they're going to be like playing after they're on that, they're going to go to Fight. The more views, the more eyeballs, the more places you can put to it, the better.
Yeah, and just while you were talking, I did look up the numbers. I went to the YouTube channel for the NWA, which is youtube.com/the NWA. Episode 1 has over 474,000 views. Now, again, that wasn't one night. That wasn't for the 1 hour. That's, accumulation of 2 weeks worth of potential viewing. And then the last episode, which was titled Clickbait, they had 243,000 views. Obviously, the first episode's been around for 2 weeks. The second episode's been around for just over a few days. I would say that's pretty good numbers, Jaden. I mean, you're kind of more in this world than I am. If the promotion that you were working with had 243,000 views, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, right?
That's nothing to sneeze at. So see if they can find ways to what's that damn word I can't say?
Monetize.
Monetize. I couldn't get that out. Monetize it. They get some extra money out of it. These TV tapings right now aren't paying for themselves, and I don't think Tony Falk's tire irons and 2x4s and everything like that, where the Austin Idol Universal Academy is paying for all the production costs of this. But it's it's an extra way to make a couple extra dollars, and 500,000 people seeing something, that's a good number in my opinion.
Yeah. And I did inquire too about advertising with them just to see what it was going to cost, and it wasn't really in my wheelhouse.
Well,
Jaden, did I? Oh, there you are. Good. I thought I lost you.
No, but
actually, no. They didn't even respond to me. They said we'll look into it, and that was it. I haven't heard anything else yet from the NWA. So, Lagana, Maureen, if you guys are listening, I'd like some numbers, please.
The thing is, you need to, if you're going to do a commercial, you have to do it in the Tim and Eric Awesome Show style format that the current commercials are using, the late night things you see on the Cartoon Network.
Right.
They do with on Saturday nights. That's the style that I think they're going for right now for the commercials they're doing.
I was thinking sock puppets. One of the highlights of my trip to Atlanta was actually driving back to the airport on Wednesday morning at like some ungodly hour. I think it was 6 a.m., 6:30. And I actually drove by William Street, and I actually saw the building where I believe that's where they produce the shows. I'm sure all the animation's done overseas, but I drove by and I said, "Hey, that's where they do Adult Swim right there."
Yeah.
So that was a highlight for me, and there's not a whole lot to do in Atlanta besides go to Chick-fil-A or Waffle House. So that was pretty cool for me.
Well, you also should have visited Bad Street.
I looked for Bad Street and I found a couple of bad streets, but I did not find Michael P.S. Hayes or Doc Hendricks for that matter. I didn't see either one of them.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think that's going to do it for us tonight, man. We did this in record time, and maybe next week we can talk a little bit more NWA we're going through the show.
One thing I really enjoyed, it was definitely no Jocephus this weekend. That's the best part about the entire program. I heard somebody wasn't too happy, though, about my comments about Jocephus.
Yeah, you aren't winning over a big audience with our Twitter followers, but to the point, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look up the actual quote here, so bear with me if you will.
If you will.
Sir Absurd, I believe he said, I actually said I'm not going to be streaming tonight because I couldn't get the Streamlabs to work, and then it did work, and everyone. So nobody's actually watching right now, which is kind of a bummer. Sir Absurd, who is a great follow on Twitter, he's an excellent writer. I appreciate his support very much. He said, "The Kingdom, hashtag the Kingdom of Jocephus NWA, approves all of the Alliance Blog's newest podcasts, where Cal and Jaden recap hashtag NWA Power with the 3 R's. Except for the comments from 2130 mark to the 2437 mark. Those comments are not Kingdom approved." Jaden, that's where you went off on the Kingdomnites, the 3%, if you will. And I'm guessing you're not going to give them any kind of apology, huh?
Well, you know what? There's people that like things out there. There's people that like mayonnaise on Reese's cups. There's people that like to dress up as gimps and have 400-pound African-American women step on their testicles with stiletto heels.
We're going to lose our G rating.
Yes, well, we lost that a long time ago. And then there's definitely people that like Jocephus. And, I'm going to use my psychology degree here and tell you there's actually a term for this. There's a term for people that like this stuff, and that term is moron.
I thought you were going to go with Stockholm Syndrome.
No. The people that like all of that right there, there's just obviously people that are... I think it's the people, if you look at the people who like Jocephus and the people that were born with the umbilical cord tied around their neck, I think you're going to find a correlation.
I'm going to lose followers for this one. These comments expressed by Jaden are those and those of his alone. They do not represent the station that this podcast appears on, nor the website of which it also represents.
This is a perfect example why you do not eat paint chips when you're pregnant.
Oh my God, dude. That was me sipping my coffee right there. I don't know what to.
I was the one spilling the tea or sipping the tea, and you're the one sipping the coffee. All right.
Oh, I got to stay up somehow. I don't know how to even go from anywhere else after that. I do know that we want to do this again. I think we'll be here. We're gonna try to do it live again. What, Wednesday? We'll talk off the air. I'll let you guys know. Stay tuned to the Alliance blog on Twitter. Oh, good news, guys. Let me humble brag a little bit. Your support, your determination, your likes, your subscriptions have finally got the YouTube channel up to 106 followers as of this evening, which I think is what, today's the 19th? Saturday night, the 19th. So we finally have our own YouTube channel. You don't have to go and search the Alliance blog. You can literally type in now, youtube.com/the Alliance blog. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, 106 subscribers, but to me, that means everything. I really genuinely appreciate your guys' support. I really genuinely appreciate what you guys do by watching our content, sharing it. Means the world to me. So thank you so much for that. Again, I hope to do a lot more cool stuff like this going forward. More that we're not going to just do recap shows. We're going to talk about the NWA, the history, the past, present, future. Jaden has been a longtime NWA fan. He's worked for the NWA. He's been inside and outside of the ring. DKM is also a bit of an NWA historian. I think he was there the night Kerry Von Erich won the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. So the three of us have been around for quite a while. And actually, Jaden, I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but October 25th will mark the 10-year anniversary of the first podcast that I ever did that you joined me on. Isn't that amazing?
I actually didn't join you on the first one. I joined you on the second one. I listened to the first one. And that's why I joined you on the second one. Figured you needed all the help you can get.
I still do need all the help I can get. Why do you think I keep asking people to come on these shows with me? I'm not a pure talent, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just a guy who wants to help promote the NWA. Everything that I do here is self-taught, and it's not taught well. So I admit, you're going to see a lot of snafus, a lot of hiccups along the way. Just trying to get better. I'm not in competition with anybody else. I'm just trying to promote the brand that I've been following for, 35 years? So come join the ride with us. Come hang out with the Alliance blog. We're for the fans. We're not for the NWA. Dave Lagana isn't giving me any exclusive interviews. Dave Lagana, you don't watch my stuff, so it doesn't matter. But we're for the fans, guys. We're here for you, and I'm glad you guys are on this journey with us. Now, Jaden, I know something really important is happening with you, the wrestling promotion you help out in. Is it Glassboro? What city are you guys running in next week?
Well, it's actually, I'm a member of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators family, and Dog has an event coming up on Saturday night, October 26th at the Max Fit Sports Center, located at 240 Delsey Drive South in beautiful uptown Glassboro, New Jersey. Just recently announced, James J. Dillon will make his return to Dog. He'll be doing a special autograph signing. He'll be having his things for sale, including his book on the Four Horsemen and his own private autobiography. Of course, you'll see the main event of Break and Rant defending that Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship against second-generation wrestler Brian Pillman Jr. You'll see a WWGP Heavyweight Championship grudge match, last man standing between current champion, the incredible William Huckabee, and former WWGP champion Biggie Biggs. You'll see an Irish whipping match between the champion of the fans, Pat Shamrock, taking on the diabolical daredevil Dave Dahl.
I'm not a fan of that guy, Dave Dahl.
Nobody should be a fan of Dave Dahl. Everybody hates Dave Dahl. Everybody hates him.
Can't wait to see Pat Shamrock kick his ass.
Yeah, you need to pay to come see Dave Dahl get beat. I'm pretty much sure it's going to happen with leather belts, and I think that's worth the price of admission alone. You also see DGAP Bundles have a rematch against Chris Steeler, and it's going to be a lot from top to bottom. There's going to be a great night of wrestling action. From top to bottom, you'll see a great night of professional wrestling action. And just go to www.dogprowrestling.com for for the website to get all the information. You can also check us out on Instagram. Instagram.com, I believe, is dog_unleash. On Twitter, it's Dog Wrestling. That's DAWG, by the way. And it's Facebook.com/Dog Pro Wrestling. If you want to keep in touch, I wish the Tonian was able to keep it straight through. It would have been a lot easier. I could remember it better. But you can also check us out on on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Dog Pro Wrestling. So you can check different ways to see what's going on. And then I want you to come to the MaxFit Sports Center, 240 Delsea Drive South in Glassboro, New Jersey, to see great wrestling action from top to bottom. It's all ages appropriate. Whether 8 or 80, you'll have a blast. If you do not enjoy your event, Dr. Lawrence Zacconi would give you your money back. That's why they're South Jersey's #1 wrestling promotion. Wow.
I mean, that's very telling right there that Dr. Z would give their money back. I think that's great. Nobody's going to ask for their money back on this card. Nobody. I mean,
I know it's kind of a bet, so
it's that one's a safe bet. I mean, this is a solid card, and it might even be one of the best cards that you guys put out all year. So I won't be there. That's my wedding anniversary. I will have to check out the next show in 2020. Hopefully, I'll be out to Glassboro to check out a show, but I expect that VIP treatment. I don't know what you got to do for Dr. Zacconi. I can't talk anymore. It's too late for me. Dr. Larry D, the living legend himself. I want the VIP package, so we'll have to talk offline about that. But that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Again, continue watching 10 Pounds of Gold. Continue watching the NWA Power. Continue to follow the Alliance blog, and that's on all social media. So you got us on TikTok if you're a kid. We got you on Instagram. We got you if you're an influencer. We're on Facebook if you're over the age of 30. We're on Twitter if you're under the age of 30. I don't know. I don't even know if this makes sense. I'm on YouTube. We're on YouTube with the Alliance blog. We're on Twitch, obviously, if you're watching right now. The Anchor podcast is anchor.fm/J-Cal. This will also be up there as well as on our YouTube channel. So, guys, hey, we love producing this content. We love talking NWA. We do it for you. Make sure you're sharing it. You're checking it out. If you have any comments, hey, go to the Anchor site, leave a message, slide into my DMs. Let's talk NWA. And there's a lot more content coming. A lot more. So for my man Jaden here and my man DKM, who wasn't able to make it tonight, I think he'll be with us next week. I'm J-Cal, and we'll see you at the matches. Good night now. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.